Today I'm going to be breaking down Never Felt So Alone by Labrinth featuring Billie Eilish, where as usual I'll be talking you through the various elements that I'm picking up on as we go through it. Now if you want to, grab yourself a pair of headphones, listen along with me and let me know some of the things that you identified within the track. Also, if you have a song or an artist that you would like me to review, then pop that into the comments also. Let's get it! Okay, right, so some opening thoughts on the track here. So I really like the opening vocals that we get. They're warped and they're distorted and it's right? We get this real sort of like bum note at the end there, and you know, not something that you would typically hear in any song actually, but this is Labrinth we're talking about, so he kind of makes it work. We then get into the chorus, right? We've got this really down-tempo slow beat. We've got a bass line that's there, but it's not consistent throughout. It just kind of comes in every now and again. But what stands out to me is the keys that are being used here, right? So we've essentially, or what I can pick up on at least, we've got two sets of keys. We've got the leading keys, let's call them that, right? And it's just kind of playing that consistent rhythm in that consistent note, right? The note doesn't seem to change. And then what we've got kind of buried further back in the mix are these kind of pulsing keys, right? Kind of, you know, on that rhythm. And what I hear is, you know, you've got these four elements, right? You've got the beat, you've got the bass, and those two sets of keys. They've all got their own kind of different rhythmic patterns, right, in a way. And what that does is if you zone into it properly, right, it's actually off beat. This is the genius of Labrinth, right? You know, he's really good at kind of creating these new age and alternate sounds, but he's also really good at, you know, just throwing the production book out the window, right? In terms of how tracks should be arranged and how they should be structured. You know, he goes down his own path, but what he does is he's just exceptional at making things that shouldn't work, right, work. So yeah, listen, so far, so good. Beautiful harmonies there. Those vocals are stunning.
In the whip, thinking, what if you and this never existed? Hollow kiss, bottle, liquor, man I'm sick, man I'm schizo. Alright.
Okay, right, so again, man, right, something that is just really clever, like it's bordering genius really, and just kind of going back to that kind of offbeat thing that I was talking about. Even there within the verse, like I was, you know, I kind of get into this thing where I'm like, yeah man, I got the rhythm, and then something happens, I'm like, no, I don't got it, like let's start again. Do you know what I mean? Kind of reset, let's get back into the rhythm. But getting on to sort of like the kind of real cleverness of it, right, is we've had just like this almost sort of like bombardment of different sounds, and that variation of different sounds coming in doesn't just start on the first verse. It actually starts in the back end of the chorus, right? Where you've got both the artists in there. We get like a bit of a drum roll. We got a bell that comes in and it just happens to be on the exact note of the vocals. When we get into the first verse, the beat is stripped, the beat is stripped back. The bass comes in and we've just got Labrinth's vocals that are being harmonized and they're still being a little bit warped and distorted. But then all of these other sounds come in, and what's particularly clever about that is that they're short, sharp, punchy, right? They appear once, they go in, get the job done, and then they're out. We never hear from them again. And they even play around with things like the vocals, so we get these harmonies that just kind of pop in, right, unexpectedly. But what really stood out to me on the vocal front is Billie Eilish has this part where she comes in along the top line with sort of like a riff, if you like, and that riff is heavily reverbed. So it makes it full, it makes it very prominent within the track. And typically what happens, or what most people would do, is they let the natural reverb just kind of tail off that vocal. But they don't do that here, man. They don't. That's far too normal. What they do is they cut it. They literally just stop it dead in its tracks. Let me just take that back, just so you can hear that Billie Eilish bit. Right, it's coming up. Just there, stopped.
Always lover, you know this man ain't shit without you in the interior. I'm dying somewhere in the dark. Always lover, and I think, what if we weren't ride and die together? The whole world would fall apart.
Okay, like stunning execution of vocals there, right? We had Labrinth coming in from the right-hand side, right? And then what we get is we get Billie Eilish coming from the left-hand side, just kind of following those vocals up absolutely beautifully. I love the vocals, man. Like the vocal execution here is so spot on, right? Because we're at a peak now, right, within the track. And what they're doing to kind of enhance that, to add some sort of like dynamic to it and richness and some extra fullness, is they've got those kind of lead vocals right there at the front, both of them, right? And they're harmonized, they lay all this sort of stuff. But then we get Billie Eilish coming over the top again on this line that just really stands out and just adds just something, you know, extra, right, to the chorus that really kind of helps it peak. Let me just take that back so you can hear that. Right, listen. Hear it. Nice beat cut there.
Best friend. Wish I knew better then. Who knew you were just out to
love those vocals.
My whole world just fell apart. 'Cause I never felt so alone. Felt so alone and on.
Right, just to cut in on this bit, right, because again, it just kind of adds to the points that I've been making around the production side, and how it kind of doesn't really fit into the norms of most things. So right there, right, we've had Billie Eilish's verse, okay, and what you notice is that we reach a peak at the verse, right? So it's creating a build up to what would normally be something bigger, and that would be like a chorus where that, you know, you get that build up, but that chorus just pushes it over the edge, and so it's really big, it's full, and it's the type of stuff that gives you the goosebumps. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're listening to it, you know, be it in the car or whatever it is. But you don't get that here, right? What they do is they kind of create this false anticipation, right, where they create this big build up, it peaks, and actually what happens here is it then drops right down. right? It literally falls off of a cliff, you know, because this part of the track is very chilled out. It's very just sort of relaxed and slow. It's the complete opposite. So again, you know, just completely different to what you would typically expect to hear from, let's say, a kind of more kind of structured kind of track. Hear that, and that just drops.
'Cause I never felt so alone, felt so alone and
I could never be more alone than when I ain't got you here.
Banging. Okay, so quick summary of the track. So I really like the opening vocals, right, and then we get that sort of like bum note at the end. Obviously it's meant to be that way, and that's one of the reasons why it stands out. I like the fact that they had this kind of distorted and kind of morphed effects on Labrinth's vocals there. I liked the fact that, you know, and I spoke about this in the opening chorus, where, you know, you had the kind of key instruments or sounds like the drums, the bass, and those two sets of keys all on different rhythmic patterns, but he executes it to absolute perfection. And I know how difficult something like that can be to do, right? And just, you know, to be able to do it is just, yeah, it's admirable. Let's put it that way. On the vocal side, I really like what they were doing with the vocals, and I'm not just talking about how they were harmonizing certain elements or how they were bringing sort of like these shall we say vocal riffs in every now and again, but what really stood out to me is how kind of powerful they made those vocals, especially towards the back end of the track, where you had Labrinth coming from one side, you had Billie Eilish coming from the other, and it just created these big vocals that kind of filled up the entire space, and it's a real nice touch. And it was even times there as well that I pointed out where, you know, you've got the lead vocals in the mix, and then Billie Eilish, she just has this top line where she's just kind of following up those lyrics and phrases, and it just adds a whole kind of different dynamic and a richness to the vocals, but also complements the whole feel and vibe of the track really well. And then the final thing for me was just the way that they kind of gave us almost like a false build up or peak on Billie Eilish's verse, right? And I said it in the video, we hit this peak, and normally you'd expect something to kind of just go up a notch in terms of like a bigger chorus or something like that. We didn't get that. It just actually just kind of falls off, and we get this chilled kind of mellow outro vibe. Okay, that's it for me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I will see you in the next one.